Greetings, B-movie aficionados.
Hello, welcome to A Couple of Flicks. I'm Tristan.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Zach.
All right. So before we talk about the films we chose this week, is there anything you guys watched recently that you want to talk about?
I watched the new Space Jam.
Oh, nice. How was it?
It was awful.
Oh,
I wish they never did that.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it yet. I'm gonna watch it tomorrow. I'm pretty excited, to be honest.
Okay.
I just rewatched the first one though, and it is pretty dorky. I gotta admit, like that. I don't know. I wasn't really crazy. I don't know. I mean, I can remember how I felt about it before.
Yeah.
But watching it now, it's pretty dorky. It's pretty much just a 90-minute long Nike's ad. There's not really much else to say about it other than that. It's overloaded with all kinds of ridiculous references. It references Pulp Fiction. I mean, it's a lot of nonsense.
Just wait till the new one.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've already seen some insane stuff about this new one, and I can't wait to see it. Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah, half it's just like, hey, look at us, we're Warner Brothers.
Oh my gosh.
And the other half is LeBron James's shitty acting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I watched Near Dark the other night.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vampire film. I liked it. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah. I love that movie.
Still haven't seen that one.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah. Then Catherine Bigelow went on to do Point Break with Keanu Reeves.
Yeah. I was in a Catherine Bigelow movie for background work too.
Oh yeah.
Oh, nice.
Was it Detroit? You can tell the story.
It was Detroit. Yeah.
Nice.
I was in a courtroom with John Krasinski, and then I got to be a National Guard guy. So I had like a fake gun and everything, and jumped out of a truck and whatnot, and it was pretty sweet.
Oh, sweet.
Nice.
Yeah. But the movie itself was pretty sweet. Near Dark. I like how they never use the term vampire, even though they didn't have fangs or anything. They just, it's like in zombie movies, a lot of the time they never mention, the word zombie because it doesn't, they don't exist or whatever, so they don't have a word for it. But so it had that kind of little mythos to it.
I guess like the big debate that some people have about that movie is like whether or not it's a Western, which I could sort of see where people are coming from. Honestly, like it does have some Western qualities. Yeah. More so in the second half than the first half. I feel like the first half is more like the build up to the Western, like it's sort of like the setup. And then the second half is sort of the payoff, But what I liked about that movie was how it kind of explored how, it kind of showed how cool it was to be a vampire, but it also showed like how shitty it was to be a vampire too, and how it's kind of a miserable existence, honestly. Bunch
of scumbags.
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like the movie, like watching it now, like there's probably been vampire movies that have done that sort of thing better, but I feel like Near Dark did a good job of introducing a lot of interesting little ideas in the vampire genre, at least as far as like how to depict them as something other than a villain, like what happens if your vampire movie is like a vampire movie where the vampires are the main characters. Like it's cool to see that sort of thing, like explored. So.
Yep. Yeah. Give it a thumbs up for me. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, I like that one. What did I watch? I rewatched Space Jam, and then what else did I watch? I watched the newest Pixar movie.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I saw that one too.
yeah,
The
Luca.
fish one.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. What, did you like it or?
Yeah, I thought it was all right.
Yeah.
Not the best Pixar I've seen, but
Yeah.
I'm behind a few movies on Pixar now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Onward I liked. Soul I think is probably their best most recent film, but this one, like, I liked it until I didn't, like the first sort of, I want to say half of it had like a cool vibe where it was just sort of it had like I don't know, it had sort of a hangout type of feel to it where the characters were just sort of chilling and not really doing anything all that exciting, and it was sort of the plot, like the logic of the plot and stuff, and the fish world didn't really make any sense, but it was cool how it just, I don't know, it just kind of went along and just did its thing. But then it started having a plot, and like main character is like into this girl, and then they like, I don't know, that's when I lost interest in it. Like, it just kind of, I mean, this has kind of been a reoccurring problem I've had with Disney, is that they just seem to always kind of unfold in the same way a lot of the time, and they don't really like mix it up all that much. And this one, like, I thought it was going to go in an interesting, cool direction, but then it sort of just turned into another like adventure movie. It had some really like cool little emotional moments in it that I liked, and there were even a few like moments that I thought were really moving. Like there's a scene where a character like talks about getting kicked out of it, or getting like rejected by his family or whatever, that resonated with me a lot. But the movie itself was just sort of, I don't know, kind of boring.
yeah. I kept hearing people compare it to Call Me by Your Name, but
Oh yeah, I could see that.
with sea monsters.
Yeah. I'd say more so the first half than the second half, although the ending sort of reminded me of that. I don't know. I mean, I thought there were some pretty clear similarities, honestly, but I was kind of thinking that it was sort of more like The Little Mermaid, like, except like reverse Little Mermaid, like,
Yeah.
and not really a mermaid, but more like merman or boy, I don't know, a mer boy. But it was okay. Anyway. And then I also watched Death Wish Club, but I'm not going to talk about that yet. I'm going to save that for later. So
I don't even know what that is.
yeah, you'll find out.
No, really?
Yeah. But okay, yeah. So let's jump right in. So let's talk about the first movie, the one you chose, Zach.
Yeah, I chose Lust in the Dust.
Yeah.
We hadn't done too many westerns, so thought I'd pick one. I don't have too much to say about this one, but
yeah. Well, how would you describe it?
There was a lot of lust, that's for sure.
Yes, and it was an awfully dusty movie too.
Yeah.
So the title was exquisitely perfect.
Yep. So it stars Divine, which probably should explain
you want
Divine, I guess.
All right, so Divine is this. So Divine, he was this incredible like female impersonator actor who he was mostly in John Waters movies. Most people know him for his role in Hairspray, which is like a 80s dance movie that was actually a lot smarter than a lot of dance movies tended to be, like, up to that point. And Divine plays the motherly character in it, who I think a lot of people really resonated with her, and and how it all, I like how that character ended up sort of starting off as being somewhat oppositional to the main character's like dreams and goals, which is like her daughter. But then over the course of the movie, she learns to sort of recognize what her daughter sees. And even though she doesn't really feel totally comfortable with her daughter's decisions, she wants to support her because she's her daughter, you know, the Ricky Lake character. And it's just a really sweet performance that a lot of people really love. And then the other infamous role was playing a character in a movie called Pink Flamingos, and the movie ends with his character eating dog shit off the pavement, and he actually ate it for real. Oh, sorry, spoiler alert for Pink Flamingos if you haven't seen it already. I mean, it was made in 1971. I think everybody knows how it ends by now.
I didn't.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry for spoiling it for you. But in this case, it's probably good that you may know how it ends.
Was it real dog shit?
Yes.
Yeah, you watched the dog shit.
Yeah, it's one unbroken shot where you see the dog shit on the pavement, and then Divide picks it up and eats it. And like, it's just as disgusting as it sounds, if not worse. Like, easily one of the grossest scenes in film history by far. And what makes it even funnier is that the movie was referenced in one of the Alvin and the Chipmunks movies.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. In Alvin and the Chipmunks, the Chipwreck, I think it was called. I forget which one. One of those. There's a scene where Alvin is on an airplane and he's sitting next to John Waters. And John Waters, he says something really bitchy to him. And then Alvin says, like, I forget exactly what he says, but he says, like, you have no right to judge me. I saw Pink Flamingos. And it's like, yeah, like, I guess like probably half the people who saw that movie probably spit out, like did a spit take at that line.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, but he's done some amazing work. He was in Female Trouble, you know, and he also was in a movie with Tab Hunter called Desperate Living. But this movie is his second movie that he did with Tab Hunter, although John Waters didn't direct this one. This one was directed.
His first non-John Waters movie.
Yeah. And I would actually have to say, like, probably like the biggest highlight, like, in my view. Although I'll get to that like when we like get more into the movie. But this was directed by Paul Bartel. I don't know if you guys have seen any of his movies. I've seen a couple of his films aside from this one. I've seen Eating Raoul, and I've seen Death Race 2000. And he sort of, I kind of feel like his style is sort of inspired by John Waters. But this movie he made in the mid 80s, I think. I know it was like around the time of Hairspray, or maybe around the time of Desperate. Oh no, I'm sorry, I totally got it all mixed up. Divine was not in Desperate Living with Tab Hunter. It was in Polyester. I think I said it was Desperate Living.
The Motorama.
Yeah, which that was probably the best thing about the movie was the odorama, you know. Except for the one part where the one character farts and then the number 2 comes up on the screen. It's like, damn it. Now I gotta smell a fart. And then you take the card and you scratch it and sniff it. It's like, whoa, damn it. And then later on, I watched that hilarious interview where John Waters says, he said that he's the luckiest filmmaker in the world because he got people in the 80s to pay him $10 to make them smell shit. Which is probably my second favorite John Waters quote. You know, my first favorite is if you go to somebody's house and they don't have any books, don't fuck them. So. Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, Lust in the Dust.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a Western.
Yep. So we followed Divine on, I don't know if I should refer to him as him or her.
I'd say if you're referring to him as an actor, I'd call him him, but the character referred to as her is what I'd say.
Yeah. So he plays Rosie, so I'll call her Rosie.
Cool.
She's on her way to Chile Verde. We don't know what for at the beginning, but
Yeah.
we eventually find out it's to find some gold.
Yeah. Which is, it's kind of a typical Western plot, to be honest, but
Yeah, this was
that it's going for that.
very straightforward Western plot.
Yeah,
Yep.
definitely.
She meets up with Tab Hunter's character. Doesn't talk much at first.
Yeah.
Goes to
He just kind of wanders around looking all hot and fuckable.
Mhm.
Anyway, sorry.
The man
Yeah.
with no name type character.
Yeah.
Basically. Or like a spoof of that. You know?
Clint Eastwoody.
Yeah. Tab
Yeah.
Hunter is actually pretty funny in this. Sorry for interrupting.
No, you're good.
He actually played it like somewhat straight, and it actually made his character funnier. In my
Yeah, I
opinion.
liked his character.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I was expecting this to be a little more of a parody,
Yeah.
but
me
they
too.
played it kind of safe. But
Yeah. It started off being a parody, or it started off seeming like it was going to be a parody, because it was like you get Divine wandering around in the desert, and she's basically just wanting to get laid, but she's
Yeah.
also starving to death too, dying of thirst. Yeah.
Riding a donkey instead of a horse.
Yeah.
yeah,
And that was that one line. She's like, just a little further, and then I'm just gonna let you drop dead or whatever.
yeah. So yeah, they eventually get to the town. I mean, there was that one scene with a flashback of her getting assaulted that comes into play later.
Oh yeah. That's
Of Hard Case Williams and his gang, which
Had a bunch of racial stereotypes.
yeah,
Yeah. It's another staple of Westerns.
and a little person.
Yep.
Yeah. Played by the guy from Time Bandits.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. And I think he also he played R2D2, I want to say.
did he?
I think. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm getting him confused with another little person actor. I feel bad for saying that, but I don't know how.
Yeah.
I'm not used to.
You don't see him. He's R2D2. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, but I know he was in Time Bandits. I know that much. So
yeah.
but I always forget his name. Like that's the thing. I've seen him in at least a few movies. He's in several Terry Gilliam movies, actually. Like, I don't know. Anyway.
So they get to the town. It's empty at first because everyone's hiding from the gang that she ran into before. And then they meet Red Dick.
Yeah, I laughed at that.
Is he like that kid who's like, he's like, yeah,
The redhead.
he was intense. I was like, oh my gosh.
The kid from Children of the Corn.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh,
When the one who yells Outlander or Outsider or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the kids in that movie were annoying. Ugh. Jesus, that one squirrely looking, like when he's on the cross and all that stuff out. I laugh at that part actually. Anyway.
Eventually everyone comes out into the saloon. Then you meet the three women?
Yeah. And one of them, well, actually you're probably about to explain sort of who they are now that I think about it. Like one of them, Tab Hunter's character, was kind of into. But
yeah, the leader, I'd say. That one. I forget her name.
Yeah. Well, like at first the old lady starts macking on him.
Oh yeah,
he's kind of
Big
into
Ed.
that. Yeah.
good, yep.
Yeah.
And he's nice to her and stuff.
Yeah.
He buys her a drink and stuff.
Yeah.
And this is how you doing?
I was surprised. I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause she's like, leave him alone, and he's like, no, that's okay. Come here.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
cool.
That's basically when he first started talking. was to
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she ended up being pretty funny.
Yeah.
And then pretty much a bunch of fucking starts.
Yeah. They pretty much spend most of the movie at the cantina. Like they just, yeah, there's a lot of sex. Divine kills a couple people with her legs.
Yeah.
Kills Big Red.
Oh yeah, the kid. Yeah,
Yeah.
she randomly starts like letting the kid go down on her, and then she breaks his neck. And she also did it to the little person too. I think, unless I was confused. Like he stopped moving, and it sounded like his neck was cracked, but I wasn't positive.
No, he broke her neck or hit.
Yeah.
The little person's neck was broken because when they came back, he was like in like a neck brace, and he was like when he turned, he was like, "Ow!"
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, Divine ain't having none of that shit. You know, it's like, whoa, it's like a James Bond villain.
Yeah. And then doesn't she like stuff his body in something?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they find him, and he's like,
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of filler happens, and then eventually
they decide to go find gold after trying to spending the whole movie trying to figure out how to get there. It's like,
yeah. Tab Hunter, Divine, and then the main lady are all after the gold. And then at some point, the Hard Case Williams and his gang, they show up. They're looking for the gold.
yeah, it's like how convenient. Everybody's looking for the gold, and they all wind up at the cantina.
Yeah.
Everyone's looking for the gold, in that whole town.
Pretty much.
They discovered the maps tattooed on the asses. Two of them.
It turns out that the map is tattooed on the ass cheeks of Divine's character and her sister. Oh, spoiler! I'm sorry, I just spoiled the movie.
Watch out.
Although I have to admit, I kind of saw it coming because they looked exactly the same. Like they wore the same makeup, they had the same clothes. It's like, okay, they have to be dressed the same for a reason. It can't just be a coincidence. That's not a joke. Like there has to be a reason behind it. And then you find out what the reason. It's like, okay, well, yeah, that was, duh.
You could have seen a lot of stuff coming. Like
I saw like the map being her tattoo.
Yeah.
When he was one scene I thought was funny was he Abel Wood.
Yeah, Abel Wood.
The main character was confessing his sins, and he just went on for like hours about how many women he slept with. But the preacher eventually told him like a limerick that like which was clues to where the gold was, and it was like they said Butte.
Yeah.
There's like, oh, there's a map or something. And earlier on when one of the persons that Divine snapped their neck, they said, "Oh, that's a tattoo on your ass?"
Yeah.
No, it's a birthmark. And then when the pastor was explaining it, it was like, oh, that tattoo is probably a map.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not really much of a plot twist. It's kind of relegated to just the sight gag too, because there's of course a close-up of the butt cheeks with the map tattooed across it, and the word BU. Like I don't even remember how they spelled it. Like, yeah.
There wasn't really much of a map either.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't get it.
It was the most generic looking map ever. There's like a couple islands and some grids, and that's it. It's like,
and I didn't get the Scotland connection.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Like how did they get like they pinpoint a place in their like where they were to a Scotland map?
Yeah,
I didn't understand that.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a bit of a reach. Like I think that was like it was something they tried to establish, but they didn't really put enough thought into it. So they just kind of left it alone and hoped that people were just following along.
And in the end, it ended up being in the dude's grave. Spoilers.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that too.
But that was pretty much said within the limerick as well. Like,
yeah,
if you were there for that many years, that the what was her name? Margarita was there for.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I would have at least checked out the grave since it's mentioned his grave. I was like, oh, maybe that's a spot where it could be.
Yeah, I knew that was
Yeah.
going to be important. They had to make a point to point it out on their way into the city. Like, oh, something's going to happen with that.
Yeah, because it's such an irregular piece of dialogue that it's like, wait, what? Why'd they bring that up? And then, yeah.
One grave on a trail.
Didn't work. Sorry.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, so eventually they all get there. You got the classic standoff,
Mm-hmm.
betrayals, and everyone gets shot. And then
Yep.
Big Ed shows up out of nowhere, the old lady,
Yeah.
and is the one that saves Tab Hunter, and they ride off together.
Yep.
Yeah. I guess it's a happy ending. I mean,
Yeah. She
all the
just wanted to
characters-
go to Abilene.
Yeah.
Yep. And she
Yeah.
she apparently was the one that's, I guess, saved because it was just like a gun through a window that saved him from being hung. She was the one that shot it. Shot the
Yeah.
rope off.
Yeah.
She was pretty much the only character in the movie that wasn't a shitty idiot. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I guess that's kind of how these things go. Sometimes, like with some westerns, sometimes the hero comes down to just whoever it is that ends up shooting the right person. That's something I've kind of noticed. So in a way, it actually does kind of work.
Yeah.
you
And
know?
in one of the shootout, well, so when the main shootout in the town, I liked the bit where he preloaded his pistol with one bullet to make it so he was like firing, blanks to make it think he was out of bullets, and
Yeah.
and then the next bullet he shot the bad guy. Oh, that's a pretty smart way to fool someone.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, no,
And then I laughed where the main bad guy, I forget his name already. He just turned a corner and shot his own guy. He was like, "Oops,
Oh,
my
yeah.
bad."
that's funny. That was funny. Yeah. There were a few things I thought were pretty funny. I mean, I think it had a decent sense of momentum. It's kind of when the plot got in the way. It's like,
Yeah.
darn
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it did definitely have momentum because I wasn't like checking the time, waiting
Yeah.
for it to end.
No, neither was I. It was a pretty quick watch too. Like,
Yeah.
didn't outstay its welcome. So
I was expecting it to be a little more edgy because it had Divine in it, but
yeah,
it's not John Waters' Divine, so
yeah. That's probably my main problem with it, is that it wasn't edgy enough. Like, and that's kind of the same problem I had with Eating Raoul and like Death Race 2000, was that the premise of those movies make them sound like they're so messed up and crazy. Like Eating Raoul is about this married couple who are having money problems, and so then they start murdering these like yuppies that visit the tenants downstairs and stealing their money, like, to finance their business. Like, that's literally the plot of that movie, and it's a comedy. And then Death Race 2000 it's like about like a game show where the goal of the game is to actually like run over pedestrians. So both those movies sound really like demented and messed up and edgy, but then you watch them and they're really not. Like, the premise is intense, but they don't really go that far, and the premise of this movie kind of sounds intense too, about like this, husky lady hanging out in this cantina wanting to screw everybody. I mean, as for a Western, I feel like there's something there, but then it ended up having some dumb plot twists and kind of fell into the same sort of routine that a lot of these movies tend to, although there were some funny jokes like along the way, which made it interesting and enjoyable. So
yeah. Divine
Yeah.
just made it unique as
yeah,
a Western. That's pretty much it.
I
Other than
agree.
that, it's standard Western.
Mhm.
Yeah. Tab Hunter can only do so much with this kind of thing, and the good thing about him is most of his acting tends to be in his looks anyway, so whatever. But Divine actually has to do a lot to carry this movie, and thankfully, you know, the cast is game, because otherwise I could easily have seen this falling apart, you know. Like, it's no Blazing Saddles. It's no Greaser's Palace,
No.
you know. R.I.P. Robert Downey Sr. Anyway.
Yeah, I had no expectations because I didn't even look at the cast list or anything. I just saw that it was a comedy western.
Yeah.
I barely know who Divine is. I just
Mm.
know it's a drag queen.
Yeah.
And that's about it. So
Well, Hairspray is worth seeing, I gotta say. Like, it may not necessarily be, you know, the type of movie you'd be into, but I feel like if you watched it with like the right group of people, it would probably be pretty enjoyable. So
a couple musical numbers they had in this were decent. They had like 2 little musical numbers.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
Yeah.
those.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
pretty decent, catchy.
They were. I forgot that I totally forgot that this was a musical. But yeah, now that you mention it, I do remember the songs actually. So although actually the songs sort of worked, honestly, like as character development. Like, strangely enough,
Yeah.
I didn't expect that. Like, for the people who made this movie actually sort of care a little bit about the musical aspect. Like, I gotta, you know, credit where credit's due. Like, this movie has some good qualities. So it sort of reminded me a little bit of that movie Walker, you know, by Alex Cox.
I haven't seen that one.
Oh, okay. Well, it kind of reminded me of that a little bit. I'd probably give it like, I don't know, probably 3. I mean, I enjoyed it, honestly.
Yeah. I'd give it a 2.5 because it did have actual legit funny parts in it. And but you know, still standard Western plot.
Yeah.
Made me laugh.
Cool.
Yeah, I think I'll give it a 2.5 as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty solid, average little comedy. You know?
I think I would enjoy it more on a second watch.
There were some pretty funny parts. I like the parts where all the ladies were beating each other up. That was pretty funny. And I also brought the part at the end where she shoots her and she goes, whoa, and she like convulses on the ground.
Oh
That was
yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
Oh shit. There was another funny part that I wrote it down actually. Maybe I didn't. So he was going out to take a shower, and the most conventionally attractive female was out to help him take the shower, and she just asked him with or without, and he was just like, wait, what? And she was like, with or without, and he said with no context at all, and she just put a blindfold on. What?
Yeah.
that was interesting, actually. Yeah, that was funny. Cool. All right, so let's talk about the movie that you chose, Nick.
I chose BMX Bandits.
I like the way you said that. Bandits.
Because I forgot. They weren't really much of bandits, and honestly, there wasn't much BMX in, to be fair. I was expecting a lot more BMX in.
Yeah, they saved all the good stuff for the end.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, goddamn, what an end credit sequence! Oh man,
that was so funny. So this is I guess, I don't know, I just chose it on a whim, but I guess it's the first Nicole Kidman movie she's ever been in.
Yes.
And like I read the plot synopsis was, you know, 2 BMXers and their friend, Nicole Kidman. So I'm assuming that was written after the fact. Way after.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, it starts out with your generic 80s music, generic 80s, them BMXing through town.
Yeah.
shows I guess the bank robbers and their plan.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there was a bank robbery too at first, but that was after
Yeah.
the main credits and the main BMXing. The
Mm.
bank robbers robbed a bank, and then their next target is like I guess I'm assuming we never really see their next plan come to fruition thanks to these BMXers.
Mm-hmm.
It was it was to I'm assuming rob like a bank money truck thing.
I think
still.
so, yeah. Like armored vehicle or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it seemed like an elaborate plan. It seemed like they'd sketched it out pretty.
Yeah, they played with some Hot Wheels to show it. They're like, so we're gonna steal this van and drive it into another van.
Yeah.
And how are we gonna do this with walkie-talkies?
Oh yeah, those short waves.
Yeah, their whole plan.
The US title was Shortwave of the movie.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That makes sense now.
I didn't even know.
Realize I didn't realize it had another title other than BMX Bandits. So there you go.
Nice. Yeah. So their whole thing was the bad guys had to get these walkie-talkies that were tapped into the police frequency or whatever. And so we go back to the good guys, the BMXers. They break their bikes because of not really Nicole Kidman's fault, but the chubby, rich, annoying dude. He pushed some carts out in front of them and they crashed, broke their bikes and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure, did they know Nicole Kidman's character beforehand?
I think it was the kind of relationship where they'd seen her at the store, like in passing, but they didn't like know who she was or anything like that. They probably said hi to her or something, friendly, sort of like, oh, neighborhood grocery lady person, something or other. I got the impression they'd seen her a few times, but they'd never really talked to her until this moment. Like actually had more of a conversation. Yeah, because
they became quick friends. It seemed like they knew each other. But it also, when they crashed and the two BMX boys were saying, no, we don't even know her. We've never seen her. Like, give her a break. And she's like, I don't even care. I don't want this job. So.
That was so funny. Oh my God, I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah.
But what were you about to say something, Zach?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like that's what the impression I got. That I just knew her about from passing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Seems like everybody it seemed like a small town kind of thing too. Like,
yeah,
the cops knew these two kids.
Yeah. Outsiders not welcome. Haha. No, I'm just kidding.
They start hanging out. They start hanging out at an arcade at first.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Stupid shit.
They just chill, basically.
Just chilling, drinking.
It
looked like milk, but I think it might have been smoothie. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe I'm gonna guess maybe it was like a tea, like a mango tea or something, or
it was out of like a milk carton though. They were drinking.
Oh yeah, that's true. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. Maybe it's one of them fancy Australian drinks.
Right. Yeah.
But actually, I gotta say, this movie, I wrote down where it was filmed, but I don't remember where I put it. But because I wrote notes and I can't find my notes. But I liked the setting a lot. Like, I feel like wherever they filmed it, they made really, really good use of it. Because you got to see a lot of the beaches and you got to see a lot of just the overall landscape and the texture of just the layout of everything. And it was cool. Like, I really actually felt it felt like sort of its own little world. Like, it felt very sort of built, I guess, in its own way. It's interesting when a movie like this, just like the setting can sort of add something. It can add a certain quality to it,
Yeah.
I enjoyed the sunniness of it.
Yeah.
What was that?
I hear you there. Yeah, it's very Australian.
Yeah.
I totally forgot Nicole Kidman's Australian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think most people forget that. Yeah.
Yeah. So they have to make money to repair their bikes, so they go out on this. I think if they weren't lying, I can't tell because they were always being sarcastic and shit. But it was one of the kids' dad's boats, and they're just going out looking for people's. It seems like they were stealing other fishermen's shit usually, or what their plan was to steal other like fishermen's fish traps.
Yeah.
And
So
and they like say it's the law of the sea. If it's an abandoned ship, it's anyone's game.
Mm.
They boat up to it wasn't a ship. She mentioned that like she said, well, this isn't a ship, but it is abandoned. There was some kind of thing out in the ocean. I don't know what it was.
Like a small barge or something.
Yeah.
That's what those are called. I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
I think I think so. I think that's the right word. But I just think it's kind of a strange. I mean, I guess I don't know. It just seems like a risky location to like leave money. You know.
I mean, I think they were looking for fish.
Oh,
But,
okay.
but they eventually they were thinking, oh, we got like a lobster crate because they were pulling up the wire, and it's like, oh, so. But yeah, it was the drop off location of the walkie talkies they needed.
Yeah.
And they come in, they have them, and boat away right as the two bad guys. One of them I noticed his character name was just Mustache.
Yeah. And these guys actually like, I mean, in a lot of these like kids move, because I think this is a kids movie ultimately.
Yeah, one of the lines when they noticed the walkie-talkies were stolen, the guy just said, "Oh, poo."
Yeah.
It made me laugh.
Yeah. But what was interesting about this one was that these guys actually were trying to kill them, like for real. Like they weren't trying to just kidnap them; they were actually trying to kill these kids. You know?
It seemed that way, but then it also didn't at parts.
Like they were just trying to get the money.
Yeah, but then they also said, like when they at one point they cornered Nicole Kidman and said, "Well, we don't want to beat her because then that'll show that there's bruises and it wasn't an accidental drowning."
Right.
But other than that, I don't know. They just were chasing them down the whole time.
Yeah. I guess that one line sort of creeped me out. I don't know. It was just, ugh, I don't know. It's like if Three Ninjas High Noon at Mega Mountain, which I know we haven't technically talked about yet, but if Three Ninjas High Noon at Mega Mountain had a line like that in it, I don't know if I would have felt as warmly about it as I did, like, or will.
Yeah. That's what I compared this movie to. I was like, this is Three Ninjas, but with BMX bikes instead of Kung Fu.
Kinda.
Yeah.
I was trying to compare it, but there wasn't enough BMX in.
Well, but I will say though,
I mean, there was a lot of BMXing, but not the type of BMXing I was expecting. Like,
well, that's what I was gonna say. Like, there were a lot of chase scenes on the bikes, so at least you did get to see them sort of
so long too.
I mean, oh yeah, they were long,
That was
but
pissing me
damn, were
off.
they action-packed.
No, they weren't.
Like, they were so action-packed. Like they were just biking down the road all furiously trying to get away from these guys. And these bad guys were doing everything from trying to run them over to just literally trying to just take them down and just smashing into everything, things blowing up everywhere, people
Hopping in
flying
and out of their car. They would hop in and out every other 5 minutes, and then
like how much money was spent on this movie on just the stunts and effects?
Nicole Kidman's stunt character was definitely some dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a man with like stubble all over his face, and like, okay.
I did notice the stubble, I must admit. Like, and although for the most part I was convinced, like for the most part I actually thought the stunt double work was much better in this movie than it was in Three Ninjas High Noon.
Yeah, for the two guys it was hardly noticeable.
Yeah.
And I think they did even more work than Nicole Kidman did.
Yeah, and although I still thought that there were a couple there were a couple cool shots of Nicole Kidman seemingly doing BMXing, even though she wasn't. Like some shots, it was pretty damn obvious that it wasn't her. But there were a couple moments that I was pretty impressed by. Like, oh, maybe she learned. Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how she feels about this movie now, but I thought she did a good job in it.
Yeah, she did fine for a first outing.
Yeah.
But what
she probably talked. Oh, go on.
But the thing is, what I'll say is about the BMXing is there was like, you know, the first little scene where they're doing some cool tricks and stuff, and then Nicole Kidman was whipping out her skills. Yeah. But the majority of the BMXing to me was those chase scenes weren't action packed. They were pretty boring to me.
Oh, really?
Just riding down streets. They weren't like actually like doing anything that cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed them for some reason. I did.
I wanted to see him like doing flips or something, or like riding on wall type shit. But no, it was just some kind of like driving down the street for a half an hour.
I guess I like chase scenes. I don't know why.
Yeah, that scene went on for way too long.
Yeah.
It was really long. They really just threw everything in. Like,
I don't even know it was the same chase scene because I don't know, a couple meshed together, I guess. But they were in a warehouse and the car was like doing donuts, and they were just they were just
I thought it was over at that point, and then the car just busts through the warehouse.
No, but this movie is self-aware. It actually did that a couple times. Like there was a moment early in the movie where like one of the characters says something like, I don't remember what it said, something like, did we get away from them? And it's like, probably not, knowing what's happened so far, or something like that, which I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. But then later on in the movie, they're in the warehouse. And they're in the warehouse and they're inside. And she says something like, do you think we'll be safe inside here from them? And one of them says, oh yeah, there's no way they'll find us in here. And then the next shot, boom, the car goes right to the wall.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
There was legit nothing in there. Like, like throw some obstacles or some boxes or something in there.
Yeah, something for the car to crash through. Yeah, there's
right.
Nothing.
It's because they were trying to sort of ramp up the bike stuff. I mean, I think this movie relied a little bit too like heavily on close-ups of the bikes. Like, I get that BMX bikes were really popular at the time, at least in Australia. I don't think that they were popular here quite yet when this movie was made, which might explain why it was called shortwave, actually, now that I think think about it.
I still don't think there was much BMXing. Enough BMXing.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I'm just saying, like, the bikes, it's the bikes themselves, like the aesthetic of the bikes that I think people really enjoyed about this movie. And actually, I have to admit, like, I really enjoyed the bikes too, and I enjoyed watching them on the bikes. And maybe it's because I found them really charming and likable. And I wanted to see them bike. I don't know what it was. This movie
I did too, but it wasn't the type of biking I was looking for.
You should watch. No, right. You should watch Rad.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think Rad definitely sort of I think it improved on this formula in certain ways.
I almost put it on afterwards. I was like, let's make a good double feature.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, so I'll go back to the plot a little bit and saying why I don't think there was enough BMXing is from when they broke the bikes, got the walkie-talkies, and they started saying, oh, we can just sell these, which they started, peddling them around. And then they got like, because they spotted them, the bad guys spotted them boating out.
Yeah.
So looking for them, and they found them near a cemetery, and it was like, oh, that's them there. And they had another long on foot chase scene in the cemetery. And this was a long one too. This one scene in the cemetery was so long. I was like, where's the BMXs, man?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it was kind of about them trying to evade them.
And they had, of course, split up. Like,
I don't know why they did that. I have to be honest. I don't quite get their reasoning, because if they're trying to escape two men, like two adult men, these three kids, don't split up.
Yeah.
Stick together,
Right.
like, duh.
Yeah.
That's
And they
the one decision I didn't like. Anyway.
Yeah, and they masked up for that one, which led to a funny gag of there's just like a drunk dude outside the cemetery, and the
Look.
the bad guys were like chasing after them, climbing out of the cemetery, and the drunk guy was just like, "What the?" He didn't say anything, but he's like, "Oh," and poured out his bottle. He was like, "I'm seeing shit."
Oh my god! I always love drunk homeless men in Australian movies. I know that sounds horrible to say, but every time they're in a movie, it's always hilarious. Like, I think there was one in Body Melt, but then of course the classic one is in Dead Alive, where the main character is trying to babysit the zombie baby in the park, and he starts beating on it, and there's that one homeless guy who looks like Tom Hanks on the park bench going, "Yeah, oh, awesome."
In the cemetery, the nerdier one, like the goose, his name is Goose, kisses Nicole Kidman.
Oh yeah, that was sweet.
The only
like,
kiss. And he was a weirdo too that would just keep like repeating horror movies and creeping people out.
Yeah, they were both pretty weird in their own little ways, but I thought that they had interesting personalities. I also thought Nicole Kidman's character was cool too. Like, I honestly really enjoyed these characters. Like, the characters and the setting were like my two favorite.
I mean,
things
I was a little worried.
The BMX spikes.
I was a little worried in the beginning because the acting at the very beginning, at least for the two main characters, was so flat. I was like, uh-oh. But they picked it up and did better.
Yeah, once they got into it. I think I got the impression that they just they didn't have a whole lot of acting experience, because they all seem pretty young. I don't know.
Yeah. So what I wrote down is 40 minutes in is when they got back on actual BMXing from after that first like 5 minutes. So there was like a large gap, and even then it wasn't that much BMXing.
Yeah.
So a lot of them like working with the walkie-talkies and shit, which they had long ass antennas.
Yeah. I know.
Dude got poked in the eye with one.
All right, yeah. In the cemetery was like poke. Oh.
I'm always blown away by old 80s technology. It's the same way I feel about 80s cell phones. They're huge. They're like bigger than my head.
Mm-hmm. Those were biggins. And I was confused on the walkie-talkies because now the bad guys said it would catch the police frequency, but I thought they said that they couldn't be heard or see, like maybe they just meant if you don't talk to them, we're just going to be listening.
Right.
But they eventually hear the cops hear the kids speaking on them and stuff.
Yeah.
So the cops are starting to look for BMXers because
right.
They are using BMX lingo, and some cop lady picked up on it. But what also confused me is construction workers were on the same frequency apparently as well.
Yeah,
because they were talking, saying stuff like the construction foreman was telling like on a walkie-talkie some lift operator, "Don't drop this thing until I say now." And then coincidentally, one of the kids says, "Blah blah blah, now," and then he drops it on a friggin' car, and it explodes. Boy, it was a huge explosion.
That's the thing. Why, they spend money on that? Like that, the people who made this movie spent money on these ridiculous things that just made it so much better.
Yeah, and they did it a second time too with the construction by pulling down a house, but it wasn't as cool because there was no explosion.
Yeah.
So somehow the police or the construction workers were on the same police frequency. So I was a little confused by the enemy plot / illegal frequency they were on. Maybe it was just for a comedy bit, whatever. Still kind of drew me out of the immersion.
Yeah, it didn't.
Shortwave immersion.
Yeah, I'd have to say of the two sort of things this movie was advertising, BMX or shortwave radios. Apparently, I think it did a slightly better job at the BMXing, and that's
Kinda.
not saying much, but
I mean, the whole back half is a chase scene. I have to say,
yeah.
There was one thing I was so disappointed in. They went into a water park, and I mean, they went down a slide with their bikes, which I was like, they pushed them down. They didn't actually ride their bikes down the water slide. They set them down in front of them and went down. I was like,
yeah, they
I get that it
Predatored it.
I mean, I get that it wouldn't probably work in real life, but we're watching a movie here. Come on, let's see them ride down the waters on their bikes.
Yeah, I was expecting them to.
Yeah,
well,
it was at the,
it was at that point in the movie where the stakes were really high. It's kind of like in Super Mario Brothers, where the stakes get so high, and then they have to do a tube ride. Like they have to have a sled ride down the tubes. It's the same thing, only in this case, it's riding a BMX bike down a slide, except not riding it because you're not actually on it. You're just kind of holding onto it. It's like,
yeah, that's what I mean.
How do you even slide? You get stuck.
Yeah. And that's what I mean by there wasn't enough BMXing for me. I think they should have done that. And then I think maybe BMXers may have liked it because it was them going off road and doing downstairs, which I don't know. A lot of these stairs, I feel they could have gotten off their bikes and carried it down quicker than they rode down them.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of not cool jump, and the jumps they did were accompanied by that whoosh. Did you guys catch that fucking whoosh sound?
It's another one of those kids movies where they have to add in sound effects at literally everything that happens.
It was so bad.
A person turns around.
And it wasn't
goes down the stairs.
It wasn't even a cool whoosh or a realistic whoosh, because it was out of a space kind of a laser whoosh.
They kind of repeated it a few times.
Lot.
Same sound.
I mean, it's all chasing. They're getting chased.
But I mean, the movie does eventually conclude on a very happy note. Actually, probably the most happy note it possibly could have.
Yeah. So, one little chase thing that was okay. Not really. They went through a rugby match and he just grabbed the rugby ball and chucked it to the guy.
That was
okay. All right.
Cheesy, stupid sports stuff. That's nah. BMX is enough. I don't want my BMX to flirt and marry my football. I want to keep those separate. I don't need them combined. It's nice of you. No. Basketball already exists, so that's good enough. I'm okay with that.
So yeah, it ends with, I don't know if they turn themselves in or the fat guy, or I don't know, fat shaming, but the pudgy kid does get caught with the rotund kid gets caught. The heavy set kid gets caught with the walkie talkies. I'm not sure, because they were also debating on whether or not to just go to the cops after the hour-long chase scene. They're like, let's this isn't worth the $30 we're making off these.
For real, just go to the cops.
So they eventually they went into the cops. What were you gonna say? Or
well, what I was gonna say just real quick is eventually that kid who's bullies them half the movie, and I don't know if I missed something, but suddenly he decides to help them, basically. For
some reason
he's the asshole friend.
But then he realizes he's like the kid from Beanstalk.
Oh yeah.
He exists in the movie to be a bully for no reason, and then he just randomly decides to be a good guy
because he likes BMXing.
I guess that's what it comes down to. It's I hate these guys, but I love BMX. There's more important things.
The main thing was I guess I don't know, they wanted a BMX track built, or like,
That's right.
if we ever get rich, we're building a BMX track. So we
Yeah.
don't, because they got yelled at by cops, but they didn't give a shit anyway,
Yeah.
as kids do.
Yeah, I mean, who cares if you get yelled at by a cop? Everybody's gotten yelled at by a cop. Let's face it. I mean, isn't that kind of their job, is to yell at people?
Yep.
You know?
Especially skateboarders and BMXers.
Yeah.
But and during the chase, whatever, they stole his ice cream. He bought himself two ice cream. He bought himself
Yeah.
2 ice cream cones. They grab it
Yeah.
while they were biking by, and then just take a bite, chuck it, and he falls on his ass. He slips on the
Yeah.
ice cream cone and tries to chase him down. And I don't know.
Yeah, it's like a random pratfall that
Yeah.
they just kind of tossed it, because it's like they did everything else in this movie, so why not have some slapstick as well?
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. Although they already had too much with the villains, in my opinion. Like, way too much. I mean, the villains were just, although I guess maybe because it's a kids movie, they want to, like, they don't want the villains to be too threatening, but still, it's like, it's kind of predictable, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, because the one time they took out, like, the only weapon was a knife, like a little knife switchblade.
Yeah.
And then they were gonna shoot him at the end too, like.
Yeah.
But I mean, Nicole Kidman stops that. She like just slams down the trunk of the guns and takes the keys and just chucks it. Like, okay.
Yeah.
That was easy. That was easy.
That was surprisingly. Yeah, that was okay. I didn't see it coming, but yeah.
Yeah, but okay. So they turn themselves in, or the fat guy, pudgy kid.
It's okay. It's okay. No worries. We still love you. We'll be patient. It's all good. You know?
So either way, the cops weren't too hard on him since they came clean and whatnot. They said, but if you help us, the cops didn't divulge what they wanted them to do. So they took it into their own hands and they re-stole the walkie-talkies from the police.
Yeah.
I don't know why they assumed the police couldn't handle it for some reason. And then it's made known that these two guys are wanted criminals with rewards, bounties on them. So they said, "Oh, so we can get the money?" And he's like, "Maybe." And, but anyway, they steal the walkie-talkies, all of them, and then they hand them out to everybody, or not everybody, but all the BMXers in town, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they make this plot to like lure the bad guys into their headquarters, with just like people with the kids, point in every point around the city or town or whatever, calling out where they're going, what street they're going down.
Yeah.
And then when they finally get, go to them and get confronted by the bad guys, Nicole Kidman gets captured, of course, because the female lead, of course. So
you gotta have the predictable plot again.
Yeah. But she holds her own respectively in that, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree.
It was like delaying time because it was, wrapped in wire and it was taking forever. And she pulled a page out of Goose's handbook of telling them like a super weird horror movie story.
That's great. Yeah.
Like startled them into crashing around and stuff.
Yeah.
Which I'm surprised they didn't, smack her around for that or something.
Yeah. And I gotta say, actually, these horror movies they're describing honestly sound like horror movies that could actually exist, that could have been made in Australia. Because Australian horror movies are messed up. We're kind of 1 for 2 at this point on this show. One we watched was really good, and the other was terrible. But regardless, both were wacky. So
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, and then they get, so I don't know, they start another chase scene, but this time the kids are the ones chasing the bad guys.
They turn the tables.
Yeah, they're in the big truck now.
Yeah.
The big truck that was supposed to swallow the little van, money van. I'm assuming that's what that one was. And the good-looking character, which Goose said like, "Oh, but he's so much cuter in the cemetery and whatnot." So he was
Yeah.
like the good-looking one. He hoofs it. He chases it down and is on the grabs onto the truck, and then Goose bikes them down, and they both eventually get on the top of the truck and crash it basically.
Yeah.
There's some canvas thing up there.
Was
I
he
don't
like
know.
the skinny one? Like I don't even remember. Like
Which one?
the one who who chases. I don't
The
even remember
good
which
looking
character.
one. There was like a more tan, definitely more handsome looking kid.
Oh, okay.
That wasn't
Okay.
like the other one was like goofy with buck teeth and
Okay.
a little more lanky.
Oh, okay.
The one
makes
that kissed Nicole Kidman was like, the lanky horror kid movie one, and the other one was just like the cool, good looking tan fellow.
Okay. I mean, I thought they both looked like handsome. Like they seemed like handsome kids. I don't know. And Nicole Kidman, she seemed really pretty too. Like I feel like
And she was nice about
all
it.
three of these actors could have been like models or something. Like I don't know. Like or some kind of like sports. Like when I found out that they used stunt doubles on the BMX bikes, I was surprised because all three of them looked like they could be BMX bikers or surfers or something. So
yeah, and why I'm calling him like the uglier one was because there was that conversation after they kissed. He was like, "Oh, you're more into PJ because he's better looking than me," and whatnot. And she's like, "No, I think you're both cute in your own ways. You're nice." She called him nice. He's like, "I don't want to be nice. I want to be sexy."
It's such an 80s line.
yeah. So that's the only reason why I'm referring to him as that. Is that's what his character was. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But,
I forget which one was which. So yeah. But anyway, go on. Sorry.
So I mean, it's basically the end. They're on top of the truck that they're driving away that they have Nicole Kidman in, and they quite dangerously, like there's like a canvas which I assume just covers the windshield for hot days in Australia. Like those reflectors you put up in your car window, but they just chuck it over the windshield of the bad guys and they crash into a foam pit basically.
Yeah.
Like it was technically I saw the machine that it was using on it was foam fertilizer.
Yeah.
I've never heard of.
It's funny.
No.
But I was like, they're ballsy to throw that cover over the windshield because they're hanging on the top with no seat belts, no nothing. They could go flying and die real easy.
Yeah.
It's
like a death-defying stunt.
They didn't. Yeah, they luckily crashed into a big foam pit.
Yeah.
It's all sudsy and cops show up. At the end.
Yeah.
They don't even really.
Oh yeah.
They don't even really show them getting arrested. It's just like the cops are like driving through the foam.
Yeah. Well, it's implied that the cops built like it as a reward for their capture, built the BMX track. Like, which is like that's perfect because now the main characters don't have to waste their time trying to steal money or get money or whatever the fuck they want to do, and the cops get the bad guys. So yeah, everybody wins except for the crooks, which is the way it should be
in a kids movie. Yeah. But they did steal police evidence from the police.
That's true, and that's absolutely not okay.
And I don't know if
probably have been shot for doing that, honestly.
And I'm not sure
like
if
all three of them should have been executed. Just kidding.
Yes, 100%. I'm not even sure if because what they did was vigilantism.
Yeah, technically it was. I agree.
So I think that's illegal too, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
So
not the greatest message.
So they were still rewarded, but
yeah, it was a good movie. Not a great movie, but better than I expected.
Better BMXing.
Yeah, I agree. What would you give it on a scale of 1 to 5?
Me, a 1.5.
Okay.
Because I'm in the I don't agree that the chase scenes were action packed.
Yeah.
They were real boring and long.
Yeah.
So they're just so long and boring, and I don't know.
Okay.
It's fine for a kids movie, I'm sure.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I got to be honest. I'd give it like a 3, maybe even a 4. I don't know. I think the problem is that this movie, when it was made, people just weren't quite ready for some real hardcore BMXing. They were people during the time this movie came out, like there were probably some people who really wanted it to be hardcore and really cool, but most people were probably like, I don't know. I kind of just want to feel safe watching some regular biking. And so then this movie decided, okay, we'll give you that, but we'll throw in a couple cool little leaps off some stairs here and there, and a couple little cool things here. And then at the end, we'll show a little bit more. We'll tease you with the more hardcore stuff. But then, you know, as films, you know, continued to be made, you know, after this, there were better BMX movies that were made, I would say.
Yeah, the BMXing in this was more like I don't know, not like on tracks, you know, the dirt track, mountain biking type. And I was thinking more like X gamey stuff, people flying through the air, flipping their bikes around and whatnot.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah. That's what I was expecting. But
however, I gotta say, I still, as an action kids movie, you know, taking away the missed opportunity that was the BMX tricks and stuff, I don't know. I still really enjoyed it. I loved the chase scenes. I loved how stupidly elaborate some of them were. I understand that like a lot of them kind of felt, you know, slow for you guys, and I understand why. But I think for me, I felt really invested in what was going on. I don't know why. I felt like
it was pretty good for the story and stuff, but I don't know. I'll give it 2. Fine, you convinced me. 2.
Okay. So, I mean, I did feel little moments of suspense here and there, little tension, like, like, oh, this might be it. Well, maybe not though, because it's a kids movie, but still, I don't know. And I liked that it ended up wrapping up all right. Yeah, I really liked. I would totally rewatch it too. Like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe you'd enjoy it more after a couple drinks.
Or like putting the chase scenes on 2x speed.
Yeah, there you go.
I gave it a 3.
Oh, okay.
Damn, I'm the only one that didn't like it.
It's all right, you know. No
I just like it did need better BMX scenes for a movie called BMX Bandits, but I got the major 3 Ninjas vibes, and I kind of like that.
Yeah, definitely gave those, you know, kid team up against bad guys vibes movie.
Yeah, it is really pretty much structured like the first 3 Ninjas. Honestly, like the first half is kind of just the main characters dicking around, and then the second half is either one long action scene or one long chase scene or one long fight scene. Yeah, so
got the stupid goons who can't do their job right.
Yeah, they just mess up every moment, every opportunity they blow. They're bumbling idiots. It's like, geez. Anyway, so all right, so on to the last film that we shall be discussing on this episode, and it is my choice, and the film that I chose was Night Train to Terror. And the reason I decided to do this one to you guys, because I admit I did feel a little guilty for choosing it, because I already knew kind of what I was already in for. I wasn't 100% sure if you guys had seen it or not. So
I had.
Yeah. So, but you hadn't, Nick, right?
No.
Okay. Well, just out of curiosity, what was the first thing that came to mind when it was over?
When it was over?
Or I don't know, like what's one way, like what would you say to summarize your thoughts on this movie?
It was that's hard.
Okay, well, I won't put you on the spot for the time being. You can think about it if you want.
I'll say this, that I thought it had a good because it's a vignette movie. It has like 3 vignettes in it, and I thought the vehicle to do it not the train itself, but God and Satan judging people on these 3 little vignettes. I thought that was a neat take.
Yes.
But I don't know. It's no, I didn't really care for any of them. And I thought all the judgments were kind of lame.
Yeah, well, I would have to say that yeah, this is kind of an unusual movie because the wraparound story is in some ways the most interesting part about it, but it's really more conceptually interesting. It's not really necessarily the way it unfolds, that it's because basically, all right, so so basically I'd already seen this movie and I had found it really pretty inexplicable, and I watched it with my dad the first time, and he actually really liked it a lot. Like, he actually thought it was a really interesting, cool movie, and I was just mostly confused and weirded out by it. So and then Zach, you'd seen it before, right?
Yeah.
So what were your thoughts on it?
I hated it the first time I saw it because when I first heard about this movie, I thought it was a slasher on a train, like Terror Train or something.
Yeah.
Okay, that was weird.
That's right.
So I was severely disappointed the first time I watched it, but this watch through, I still didn't really like it.
Yeah. Did you like it more on your second watch, or no?
Slightly more. Now that I knew what it was.
Okay.
But yeah.
I certainly do. I can understand why. I'm not quite sure how to feel about this movie at this point, but I guess I'll try to summarize it. So there's so God and some guy named Lucifer.
Really?
I don't know who he is. I'm just kidding. But they're sitting on a train, which also has some kind of like new wave
hate it
dance group.
hate it the
best part of the movie.
No,
quite possibly
so one thing I hate, I don't like the 80s style. I don't like the 80s, like their music was shit. That little dance I skipped immediately once it started. I was like, nope. And because the last because they do it, I think, like between each vignette it's the same song, because the third one was just
because I watched earwormy like song ever.
Because I watched
in your head. It's awful
because it's like only one line I could tell.
Dance with me.
And I just watched part of the last one just to make sure it was all the same, I assume it was, just because the first one started out like no. Completely skipped the second time they did it. And then I, out of curiosity, and will regret it watching the third time or the last one at least.
Oh, that was the best one when he does the breakdancing.
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta be honest, the dance scenes in this movie might have been my favorite part.
No, if I watched it, maybe it would have been mine too. Maybe there's
a video on YouTube that compiles all of them together into one like 6 or 7 minute long video.
The guy that's singing looks so uncomfortable. He was like looking off to the side, like, what the fuck?
Yeah. That was the weirdest thing. I noticed that this time. It was so awkward and strange. Like, and I because I was reading the trivia, and I think he was the director's son. Like, and I'm not sure that he knew how to dance. But he wasn't actually singing, by the way. That was somebody else singing. I think you could tell. It was pretty bad dubbing.
Yeah.
But I kind of got the impression, that he did look kind of uncomfortable dancing around and sort of feeling, I don't know. And when he was breakdancing, like, it wasn't super confident looking. I don't know, there was something so appealing to me about how awkward and weird it was and how badly edited it was. This movie, like, to date, still has like the worst continuity errors I've ever seen in a movie to date, honestly. And like the dance scenes, I don't think there's a single shot that lines up like in any way. And I get it, like they're trying to do the music video thing, but like even during dance movements where it would have been cool that it lined up, it was just so jagged and strange. And it just, I don't know, it went along with the music in such a strangely dreamlike way. I was appealed by the awkwardness of it.
Yeah,
you know?
and like the room that they were in that train while they were dancing and stuff, it like kept changing sizes.
Yeah.
During whatever angle they were using.
At one point, it looked like a long hallway, like with smoke everywhere. And it didn't look like it was on a train.
Yeah, there was one part that looked like when there's girl was talking to the guy, it looked like she was out the window.
Oh yeah.
I was like,
yeah, they're on top of the train at one point doing the Polar Express, like thing. It's like, what in the world is going on, But eventually the movie settles down, but not really, actually. Now that I think about it, because so it introduces God and Lucifer, and they're in like a train cart, and they're discussing like the values of human life, and what determines whether somebody gets into heaven, what determines whether somebody gets into hell, what how far belief goes, all that stuff. They ask these relatively challenging questions, although ultimately they don't end up really answering any of them. But I kind of dug the whole My Dinner with Andre vibe they were going for. It felt kind of misplaced in a movie like this, but
I wrote down that the dialogue, I get what they were going for, but I just felt the dialogue was bad.
Yeah.
I don't know. It wasn't written well. Maybe they need some punch up and shit, but like, it was kind of, I don't know, like pretentious, I guess would be the term. I don't know.
Okay. I felt like there was thought put into it. It's just that in the end, it didn't really say anything ultimately.
Yeah, I felt like they tried but didn't succeed.
Yeah, I think they were trying to be profound, and at times they were getting there. Like when they were talking about the one girl like believing all the way up into the end, and how like that one guy gets brainwashed, so his actions, even though they're evil, weren't technically his doing, and all that stuff. Like, I thought that those are interesting questions to ask when it comes to matters of faith and religion and spirituality. And I feel like those are the questions that people should ask themselves, before they sort of, get sort of too invested in that kind of thought process. Just because I think it's good to at least be open to what else exists. So I felt like the film was trying to aim for that, but it ended up kind of falling apart ultimately by the end, because it just kind of became nothing but punchlines, like it went from being dialogue to them just kind of one-upping each other. It was like, I don't know. Like I could just see a play if I wanted to see that. Like, it just didn't feel like it really belonged in a movie. And so then, it's an anthology film. The three films, or the three short stories, whatever, they're named after. They're all names are the titles. The first one is called Harry. The second one is called Greta, and the third one is called Claire.
That was the three main. Claire was that doctor lady, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, I just wanted to make sure. So the first one is Harry then. And this story is a fucking mess. I couldn't even really begin to describe exactly what happens in it. I think it has something to do with like brainwashing, and like some kind of weird like human mind experimentation melding type thing. But it's mostly just people getting killed, pretty much for no reason. Like it literally begins with some lady in a passenger seat like shrieking, and then it goes off a bridge and she dies. You don't even see who's driving.
It's Harry.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it was
okay.
said that he was the. I think it was even on narration that he was.
Oh, I missed that.
It's your typical businessman by day that does drugs and goes crazy at night, and
that makes
sense. And it was his wife in the passenger seat that he got killed because he was, I don't know, drunk driving or something.
I mean, they never really explained what was going on. All I saw is that she was shrieking, and like, so was he bad then? Like,
I think so, because
okay,
that's what Satan said at the end. I believe he was like, yeah, but he killed he was being a shitty guy even before that. And
okay,
because I don't I think because God said, but he, well, for all the killing he did, he was, under control, but
yeah.
So they compromised to 100 years in purgatory, I think was his.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
Spoiler
all
alert
right.
Going out.
Okay, cool. All right, that was the part that I missed because like it just because that opening scene felt so disconnected from the rest of it. Like it didn't even look like the same like movie.
Yeah, because like it was definitely a narration that said he was a businessman. Like a typical 80s businessman that did like rails of coke and fucking went crazy.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that part I got. I just didn't.
But I don't know why they send him to an insane asylum. Why didn't he go to a regular hospital after that crash?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I thought he was dead. Like, because it looked like they both died. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, I guess it doesn't matter because after that, it doesn't really make any sense anyway. Like, it's pretty much just a lot of death. There's like I don't know, nothing really much to say about it other than the fact that it's just one guy.
I mean, I'd say that
I don't know. What would you say?
I would say it's the more straightforward-ish one because it was him. He was getting mind controlled, and what they were killing for was they said they were selling body parts on the black market.
Yeah.
I don't know why they were all women, all naked women strapped to tables.
Yeah, there was a lot of like random nudity.
Yep, but that's the whole point of it, was brainwashing to sell body parts on the black market.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. The black. I mean, it all sort of ties together. It just felt it was, but the narrative is just completely loose. Okay, so then there was Harry, and then there was Greta, which is pretty much about this. There's this girl at a carnival, and there's this dude who randomly becomes her sugar daddy, and so then he starts putting her in porno movies, and then this other dude who's like a college kid, or well, not really a kid, but some dude who's like in a college group or something, watches this video of her in it, like in a porn, and then somehow I think he like spots her at like at a music place, like doing music or something.
I missed that whole part. I didn't know it was porn.
Okay, all right. Well. Like
I thought it was just him being a sugar daddy, and that was her original boyfriend, and that she was already seeing, but it was just the sugar daddy was
kind of just jumped to them being together.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay. So that's the guy. So she's at the carnival selling
popcorn,
and the dude comes over and puts a bunch of $100 bills in her blouse, and so then he takes the food, chucks it, and then she goes off together. So he becomes her sugar daddy, and then she appears in porn.
Like, I didn't know that. I didn't.
Yeah,
that it was.
Yeah, when the guy's in the audience and with like his friends or whatever, and he's watching that film, and she's like on the bed or whatever, and there's that dude with that weird thing. It kind of looked like the opening scene of Things a little bit.
I do remember that. I didn't know that it was her. I thought he was they were just showing some random porn theater or something.
Yeah, that was her. And so he tracks her down, ends up winning her heart ultimately.
Somehow I don't think they show it, because that's why I just thought it was her already boyfriend, that he was okay with her being a porn actress.
Yeah, well, I mean, so then it turns out after, sorry, I'm disgustingly itching my ear. After they get married or whatever, or get together. I don't. Did they get married? I forget.
No,
anyway,
nah.
doesn't matter. So, all right, forgive me because I'm trying to explain this moment by moment as I remember it in the movie. Okay, so then suddenly he gets pulled into this cult where they basically play Russian roulette, and that's basically the rest of the story. And some people die. At one point, she randomly has short hair.
Yeah,
and he
like, is this
hates
the
her and
same
wants her to
person?
die.
That was the same person. I thought I kind of got that, but I was like, is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So she randomly has short hair and talks like a gangster. And he says, I hope it's you. I really, really hope it's you. And then, of course, it doesn't end up being her. It unfortunately ends up being the one black guy in the group, who then proceeds to say the worst line in the whole movie, please excuse me while I smoke. And
Yeah. There is, but to be fair, that was
I'm just giving the movie a hard time.
To be fair, he was the last one to die from the roulette.
Yeah,
because they first had the crazy bug thing.
Yeah, that weird
that didn't kill anyone in the cult, actually, because they opened the window and said, imagine this is the unloaded. But they didn't. I don't think they really understand the rules of Russian roulette, because it kind of made it sound like all the chambers except one are loaded. So they open a window and say, so imagine that this is the unloaded chamber, and it does fly out. It doesn't kill anyone in the death circle, but kills some random people having sex, or at least the boyfriend.
Yeah, its face explodes.
A lot of claymation, I'll say, in this.
Yeah, the stop motion claymation, whatever it is. It's pretty intense looking, I gotta say.
Especially the electrocution one.
Oh yeah, that guy's face was terrifying. Honestly, that was the scariest part of the movie. And then like they're doing this thing where they got this rubber ball, or no, it's not a rubber ball; it's a wrecking ball, but it looked like a rubber ball. Yeah. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah. So it was spinning around, and then it crushed some random bitch. Some random lady, I'm sorry. Okay, so yeah. So then it starts spinning around and it crushes some random lady's face. And then the movie ends. Or at least I should say the short. So that's Greta, spelled with 2 T's for some reason. And I'll elaborate a little bit more on that in a minute. But
what was her fate? Do we remember? I don't remember.
Oh, they got married and lived happily ever after.
Oh, that's right. That was stupid. I remember that now. Yeah, that was dumb.
Doesn't even make any sense too, because she what wasn't she like involved in this? And also, like, wasn't she like laughing about the fact that these people were playing Russian roulette? Like, clearly she's like an evil, crazy character.
Again, that is one thing that I thought was dumb, was their decided fates for, I think, all 3 of these little shorts was not correct.
Yeah, all 3 of these characters suck. They all deserve to go to hell.
Yeah.
But anyway, strangely enough, like the third part of the movie, Claire somehow manages to be the most fucked up part of the whole film.
And this was the longest one too, I feel. The other ones are way shorter than this one.
Yeah. This one was intense. Okay, so this one, it was just as incomprehensible as the first two ultimately, but regardless, it starts off promising. You got a scenario involving this sort of literary atheist type who's like super like highbrow type, like type of guy who just mostly
Nobel Prize winner.
Yeah, somehow he's a Nobel Prize winner.
And he was also the same actor as in the first vignette. He was just one of the attendants or people that work at the hospital.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, he's like some super science pro dude who's just a jackhole. He mostly acts like an asshole. And then you have what's his name? Cameron Mitchell, which is always exciting to see him because he always gets a good sort of moment or two to shine in these types of movies. And I feel like he's somebody who tends to get overlooked a lot in a lot of cheesy horror movies, and really he also tends to be a highlight of a lot of them. And in this movie it's no different. He actually gets a pretty funny flip out moment, which is enjoyable. You have a whole conspiracy story involving a follower of Lucifer, who at one point was involved in Nazi Germany and has managed to not age for a whole 30-40 years.
Longer, because they even showed pictures of, I think they went back to World War One, and then like way even another war earlier than that too.
Yeah. So you got some supernatural stuff going on. You have a whole crazy cast of characters. You have one particular character who seems to know more than everybody else, and so you spend about 15 minutes getting to know all these characters, and then they pretty much all just get killed off, and then the movie ends, and that's about it. Like, and of course they all get killed off in an eccentrically diverse number of ways that are some of them are pretty insane. This movie really doesn't give you much of a chance to breathe. It's almost kind of like watching a nightmare. Like every minute something messed up happens.
And the way it's edited too, it's just like hopping around, and it's like a nightmare would be. Like there's no continuity. It's just like slice, next scene.
Yeah, it's absolutely unpleasant. It actually, like, there did come a point where I like this movie did start making me feel kind of anxious, because like I'd been so oversaturated with jump scares and like all these crazy death scenes and all this just relentless like mayhem and craziness that's just constantly happening, that like I did reach a point where I was experiencing a strange sense of burnout. Like usually with movies like this tend to work because they kind of have suspense to them. This movie, like the average scene lasts 30 to 40 seconds. This movie feels like it was sort of structured for somebody who doesn't want to watch anything that has like any kind of like plot development or anything. Like it felt like everybody who made this movie had absolutely no attention span whatsoever.
Yeah, you need to be paying attention to follow what the fuck's going on.
Exactly.
Because of the way it's edited.
Yeah.
I kind of was then.
Yeah.
I kind of got what was going on for this one.
Yeah. I think you followed it better than both you and I did, Zach, because I mean, I think I zoned out during the first film or the first story, because that opening scene, like if you don't like connect the dots, like you have no clue what's going on in this movie. You really do have to be paying attention to follow it. And so Nick, as somebody who actually does pay attention to movies like this and actually does have a really good attention span and actually does get invested, would you say ultimately it was worth it, like paying attention to?
No, because the payouts for all of these were lame.
Right.
Like
okay.
Just the 100 years of whatever.
Yeah, purgatory,
the live happily ever after. I don't actually honestly remember to be what Claire's.
Well, Claire. Okay, so Claire was the wife, I believe, of the atheist.
Yep.
I think
She
that's
was a
what it
surgeon. Yeah, she was a
Right,
surgeon and shit.
That's it. And she, although, and I don't know, in my opinion, like, and she was like a faithful, religious person who, kind of had her ways and her husband had his ways and they had a good thing. But I kind of feel like she enabled a lot of his like shitty behavior. So she wasn't exactly like a good person. And also like, I mean, well, really, actually, all the characters in this movie, in this part, like, well, okay. So anyway, with her, like at the end of the movie, so she dies, and basically, like, she gets into heaven because she, remained faithful to the end.
Okay.
Which, it's not a bad message, but it's like also kind of preachy. And I felt like if you're gonna do that, you gotta kind of do it in a particular sort of way. I guess in a way it is sort of what you said. I guess it is kind of pretentious because it is sort of acting like it's something that it isn't in a way, but it's, I don't know. It was still kind of interesting. And so then it cuts back to the train.
And I just the way it finishes too, at least that
Yeah.
one. The lady doctor goes to a confessional booth or a confessional, I guess.
Yeah.
It mentions this that she's like seeing the devil because she does have like visions and stuff, and he says the only way to kill him or whatever is to like kill him with he's kind of like a vampire, I guess, but you have to kill him with a piece of like a stake that was from the cross, like the cross Jesus died on. And so she goes, she has it, tries to tear out his heart or put it in a box or something, but the hoof guy plays a trick on her, and it turns out that she actually cut open a heart of some lady, and it wasn't him.
Yeah, they swapped bodies.
Yeah, but I don't.
That was freaky.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, oh, bad guys won.
Yeah, and they won like pretty hardcore too. Like if I didn't know any better, like if this movie didn't have the wraparound story, I would have actually mistaken this film as being like a pro Satan, pro Nazi propaganda horror movie, because it almost sort of celebrates and relishes in the fact that these characters are getting mutilated and ripped apart and all this stuff. Some of the death scenes kind of don't really make any sense. Like that one, the guy who, like the prophecy guy who ends up getting dragged down by a demon, but then later they find him and he's drowned. Like that confused me. And yeah, I mean, it was a trip.
Yeah, definitely.
Which I guess is why it's called Night Train to Terror, because it's almost like taking a trip in a way, maybe that's not what they're going for, but I feel like they were maybe trying to explore the dimensions at least a little bit of what it means to take a trip, like whether it be in a fantasy or in a dream or in a nightmare even. Like maybe that's why the film is like a nightmare, because it's trying to invite that sort of thought process on you. It's trying to sort of integrate you with its sort of odd dream logic and sort of get you more or less synchronized with its logic, even though its logic is sort of otherworldly. And it's doing it in such a way that, like, by having the God and the Lucifer character having this sort of open theater like dialogue in a train cart on a train with rooms that don't seem like they belong on a train, maybe they're just sort of trying to establish like more of a existential type of horror, kind of like that book House of Leaves, which is a book about like a house that grows on the inside but stays small on the outside. I mean, I've had nightmares about being in houses where like I found rooms and I didn't know where they led, or I found corners that I've never seen before. I mean, I've experienced things like that in my life where I've been in a place 10 or 20 times, and then I discover a new room, and that kind of thing always wigs me out. So maybe this movie's trying to kind of play on the horror of that, whatever it may be. It doesn't do a good job. I appreciate the effort. And I also did kind of enjoy the ending because the dancers all get killed. And I mean, that the movie needed that. It needed a
toy
happy
train
ending.
set.
Yeah. It needed a happy ending.
Yes.
So I'd say the first time I watched it, I didn't get it. Upon rewatching it, I'm starting to get the appeal. I think because I do know some people who really like this movie, and I am starting to sort of understand why. I'm just having a little bit of a tough time getting around the technical issues and the bad editing and the complicated plot lines that just don't summarize themselves very well. It's a tricky movie to follow. That's really the biggest problem with it, and that's, I guess, why it's considered one of the worst movies of all time. Although I don't consider it to be one of the worst movies of all time. So
I've seen worse.
yeah, I think on rewatching it, I mean, the first time I watched it, I probably would have given it like a 1. Upon rewatching it, I'm warming up to it a little bit. I'm like kind of in the 2 to 3 range. I'm starting to sort of get what it's going for a little bit. So
Okay. I think I'd rate it a 1.5.
yeah,
Just because I liked, the idea of it, of like for a vignette movie or whatever they call these.
yeah,
But they didn't pull it off well at all.
yeah. I would agree. So
Yeah, I gave it a 1.5 as well. Still didn't like it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a tricky one to swallow. I don't know, but so I guess this is sort of a surprise. I mean, I'm not gonna like say much about this, but the second story in Night Train to Terror is actually a highly condensed, re-edited version of a feature-length movie that already exists called Death Wish Club, and it has an alternate title, Greta, with 2 T's, and this movie actually exists. And
is it like, you mean, is it a remake or is it just like cut down?
It's a cut down. So the short in this movie is a cut down version of a feature length movie that already exists.
I'd watch that because that was the most interesting one of the 3, I think.
It's worth watching, actually. It's actually a better movie than this.
Okay.
And it's okay. So the thing that's a little bit frustrating, in my opinion, is that the Blu-ray of the Night Train to Terror that exists, like the feature length version of Death Wish Club, is in the special features. And like, I kind of think that's a little bit disgraceful, because I think that Death Wish Club is a better movie than Night Train to Terror. And so I kind of feel like Death Wish Club actually sort of deserves its own release, or at least it deserves to kind of have, or like share double billing on that at least. Cause I think it's honestly like, I think it's actually sort of an interesting movie. Like,
does it not have its own release?
It does actually. It does have its own release. And so if you can find it on DVD, I would recommend it. It might even be available on streaming. I don't know. It's not that good. It's actually not even a horror movie, believe it or not. I'm not exaggerating when I say that, like, when the way it's told in this movie, in Night Train to Terror, really doesn't, not at all like the way it's told in the Death Wish Club movie. Like, not at all. It actually has like a totally different plot. Like, it starts the same as Greta Death Wish Club at the beginning. Like, it begins with her, getting picked up by the sugar daddy and then getting into porn and all that. All that stuff is the same, but the actual Death Wish Club movie goes more into like the experience of the guy trying to find her, which is an interesting part, because like he goes to a porno shop, and so it's kind of exploring like the underworld of that whole of the adult film industry. And then when he finally gets her, it like gets to her, and then they get together and all that, like, it turns out that she has a lot of psychological issues, and she has like multiple personalities, and at one point she turns into a boy. That's why, like, in the second Russian roulette game, like, she's got the short hair, because she switches personalities and becomes like this gangster kid type dude who's like really evil, and she also turns into a fish.
Okay.
Yeah, like, I'm not even kidding. Like, and like, okay, so the scene where like they bust into his hotel room and he starts doing martial arts, like, I mean, the movie is full of weird stuff like that. Like, honestly, it is. I actually really quite enjoyed it. You know, if you can find it, Death Wish Club is worth watching.
It sounds way more interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's worth watching. And I'd say, like, if you're the type of person who wants to kind of just stick with good movies, like, don't bother buying Night Train to Terror. Just try to find like a copy of Death Wish Club or Greta or whatever title you can find. Yeah, I think it has another title, like Love is. It has a weird title, like Love is a Dangerous Game or Love is a Dangerous Thing or The Dangers of Love or some kind of weird title like that. I don't know. It exists under another title, but yeah, I liked it a lot. So anyway, so I just kind of wanted to quickly talk about that. Just sort of, yeah. Yeah, I watched it last night, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Nice.
it was cool. So.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. All right, so I guess that concludes our episode. So now we get to pick which movies to watch on our next episode.
Yeah.
Do either you want to go first?
Well, I have two options like I usually do.
Excellent.
So Aliens or Bigfoot?
Ooh,
I'm intrigued.
I'm leaning toward Bigfoot.
Me too.
Okay, let's do Bigfoot.
So I got little Bigfoot.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that looks cute.
Because I'll say one of my movies I want to make is a horror Bigfoot movie.
Ah, yeah.
That's why I want Bigfoot. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the perfect Bigfoot movie has yet to be made. I think, you know, although I actually like Legend of Boggy Creek, but I know not everybody likes that one. So, but okay, Little Bigfoot, that sounds perfect. And also, just out of curiosity, what was the other one you were thinking about?
So the DVD I have, it's called Time Slingers, but the actual title is Aliens in the Wild Wild West. It's
I like both titles.
It's a full moon production.
Excellent. All right.
Nice.
That sounds cool. All right. But all right, yeah, Little Bigfoot it is. So.
I'll go next, I guess. I had two choices, or I actually had three. I don't remember the third one. I thought I wrote it down, but I didn't seem to have. I think both of you probably may have seen both my choices. Maybe. Have you seen? I'll just do Samurai Cop.
Okay.
I have not seen Samurai Cop.
I haven't seen it. Heard about it.
Nice. Okay, let's go. Let's go with that then. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Excellent. Sounds perfect. All right. Samurai Cop, Little Bigfoot. Oh, okay. So now it's my turn. All right. I just realized. Okay. The movie I chose is an early 90s movie. It's an oddity. Motorama. Have either of you heard of that one?
I don't think I've heard of that one, no.
I saw the cover of it and I had like flashbacks of it. Like this, I haven't seen this one in a long time, but I did see this one. And if it's the one I'm thinking of, because at one point I was kind of questioning whether this was even a real movie, but this is an odd one. If you look up the cover, like it has like Drew Barrymore on it, but she's barely in the movie. Like she's really not in the movie at all. Like I know the cover makes her look like she's like one of the main characters, but she's not in the movie much. So I'm just gonna.
So this is after she's famous then.
Yeah,
so it was probably like a marketing thing.
I think so. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, Motorama. Yeah, I won't say anything about it. Just yeah.
Okay.
Cool. All right. I guess that's it then. So.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good night, everybody. Peace out.
Yep. Have a good one.